This interview has been tape recorded on PC Ryan Evans 43 of the British National Police, currently based at Camden Road, London. Could you please state and tape your full name and date of birth?
For the records, we've just gone through that part on the first tape.
Yeah, go on. What do you want to say? Do you want to give me your name?
Well, the thing is, what is this name that you're trying to tie to me?
All right, Dominic. I'll go on the basis that I believe you to be Dominic Lohan based on the live scan information that's been obtained, and your date of birth is 7th of December 1974. Would you like to confirm that for me or not? The choice is yours.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
All right, because I'm sorry, you just called me Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic Lohan, yeah.
All right, that must be your mistake, because do you know me to be Dominic?
No, I don't.
That's just what you believe.
Well, it's based on fingerprint evidence that...
Okay, so would you stand on the stand saying you know me to be Dominic?
No, all I would say...
You can't do that.
All I would say is that the police live scan system, which is regulated by the government and controlled by the Home Office, says that your details are Dominic Lohan. I don't know who you are, I've never met you before, and probably won't meet you again, yeah? But the bottom line is, that is what the system tells me. Your name is Dominic Lohan and you're 7th of December 1974. I'm not going to make any more of that, we'll just leave it at that. Can you please confirm that there are no other persons present in the interview room?
Are we speaking legally here?
Yes.
Okay, but a person is a corporation.
Right, we don't get into all that. I mean physical person. There's only you and me. There's only two people in this room. Is that what you understand it to be at the moment?
I don't understand the question.
Right, I'm not going to ask the question. The date is Wednesday the 5th of March 2014 and the time on my watch is 8:01 PM, 20:01 hours. Right, okay. This interview has been conducted at Hammersmith Police Station Custody Suite, British Transport Police. At the end of the interview, I'll give you a notice that tells you what happens to the tapes and how you can gain access to copies of the tape. I'm going to caution you now, you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand that caution?
No.
Okay, do you want me to explain it to you?
The part that I really don't understand is like, how can evidence have less value if presented at a later date?
I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to ask the question, do you understand the caution? You said no. Just to check that you do understand, I'm going to ask you a few simple questions. The first question is, what happens if you fail to mention something now which relates to the incident?
That's the whole thing. I don't understand like how evidence could be seen to have more value earlier on than like at any point when it's brought up.
Right, okay, thank you. And what can happen to the copies of this interview? Tape. What can happen to them? You'll get a copy at the end of it, I'll get a copy, and the court will get a copy. You're entitled at any time to free and independent legal advice. You've opted to not have a solicitor present during this interview. During this interview, I'll expect you to listen carefully to my questions. I will be giving you time to think. I'll be expecting you to give me as much detail as possible about your side of events. Don't leave anything out. If there is something at any point that you don't understand, then please feel free to ask me and I will explain as best as I can. During the interview, I'll be asking you questions about the offence for which you have been arrested and refer to any statements from officers at the scene or any other significant witnesses or significant statements which you have made under caution and any exhibits that relate to the matter. So please tell me in your own words what happened today.
I just came through that door.
Yeah.
And then there was another door the other side of that.
Okay, before you go into all that, what I want you to concentrate on is the issue on the railway line from when the ticket inspectors spoke to you on the train, the London Overground train, somewhere between South Tottenham and Kensal Rise where you stopped. Would you please explain to me what sort of conversation you had with those two men and what the outcome was?
Well, I can give you the long and the short of the whole premise of that incident.
The short would be preferable.
Alright, alright. Right, the thing is, I've recognised that the system that we're living in is controlled by the banking elites, and there's not a lot I can do about that. It's a huge amount of control, so I've chose, after recognising that, to opt out of the system and not use money and not contract with this corporate system. Yeah. I believe that men and women have much more value to offer than just pieces of paper and shiny coins and digitalised currencies. So what has happened is I've been approached by someone who claims to want some kind of money from me for living on this planet, which I've explained to him quite clearly that I'm not a product, I'm not a corporation, and I do not wish to contract with this corporate system that is enslaving humanity.
Right, okay. What was that last bit? You don't want to what?
I don't want to contract with this corporate system that's enslaving humanity, something like that.
With this corporate system that is enslaving humanity. Yeah, right, okay, that's good. Enslaving humanity. Right, okay. What this boils down to is did you get on a train at South Tottenham today and travel to Kensal Rise, yes or no?
Well, this is all semantics of...
No, it's not, it's basic fact. Don't answer it?
Well, I don't know how to answer it because I just feel like I've answered fully and honestly of the incident that's happened.
Okay, the railway staff tell me the journey cost between South Tottenham and Kensal Rise is £1.50 with a valid Oyster card or £4.70 with a paper ticket. Did you have either of those for your journey today?
Well, if they want me to pay anything of value, I'd love to pay. The thing is, the way that the banking system operates, it operates upon debt and interest tied to the money. So we have no money of value, it just creates debt every time it's used. It's usury, which is just not on. It's tricking people to think like pieces of paper have value when it doesn't. So I'd love to pay them, but unfortunately we don't have any money of value, and I don't think the guy would have taken £1.5 of coffee granules off of me, to be honest, or whatever. I may have wanted to haggle with him because he's working for this corporate system.
But you didn't have any coffee granules on your property today?
I could have haggled with him with a book or whatever, but he wasn't interested in that. He just wanted to enslave me to this corporate system of contract by consent.
He wanted the money, contract by consent. Okay. All right. So when you boarded the train today, was your intention not to pay for the fare?
Well, no, I'd love to pay. I'd love to pay for anything I do. Whether that be with energy or trade or...
I'm talking about with coins of the realm, pounds and coins to pay for the actual fare.
But how could that be actually classed as paying for anything when the monetary system is built upon debt?
Well, the bulk of the population use money to pay for...
So they create huge debt.
To pay for goods and services, yeah? Well, you've used a service today, which is a train service between Tottenham South, or South Tottenham, to Kensal Rise, which costs £4.70. Did you board that train intending not to pay when you boarded it?
No, I'd love to pay.
No, I know you'd love to pay. Did you have the means to pay?
Yes, always.
Well, where's the money then?
Well, the guy didn't say, would you like to come around and shovel my garden or plant some flowers?
It doesn't work that way. You've either got the money to pay for a service or you haven't.
This all comes back to enslaving people via this monetary system.
Well, whatever you want to call it, it's a basic, simple matter. If you use a service, you need to pay for it in great monetary terms.
What's his name? Sheldon or
yeah, and if you haven't got the means to pay, you shouldn't use the service. So, with that in mind, when you boarded that train, did you have any means to pay today?
I'm a little confused at who I'm meant to have caused loss to.
You caused loss to the railway to the tune of £4.70 for not paying your
railway. Do you remember the slats that are on the floor?
Yeah, London Overground, yeah, where the railway runs along, the train runs along it.
Can I speak to him?
Speak to who?
This railway. Mr. Railway, is it?
Well, again, you talk about corporate people, and the corporate person in this case is London Overground Limited.
Can I speak to this corporate?
No, because it's not a person you speak to. It's not fictional. In law, it's a corporate person which has its own identity. Yeah. But all these things, as you said, These are all man-made. Yes, they are all man-made, yeah? We live on an earth which is basically dominated by men and women because that's the way it is, yeah? And therefore, the system that's in place on this earth is that if you want a service, you have to pay something to use it in some way. Certainly in the Western world, in different parts of the world, it's a different system. There may well be a bartering system, but in the United Kingdom, there is no bartering system. The only bartering system is if you have money to pay for something, you pay for it and you get the service. If you haven't got the money, you're not entitled to the service. It's the basic message from the law.
Are you saying that like anyone in this country can only use things within this country as long as they use a corrupt monetary system?
Well, no one's saying it's corrupt.
Well, it's
That's your opinion it's corrupt.
not as evidence.
Well, it may well have, in your opinion, it may well be corrupt, but you know, every country in the developed world must have some system of monetary control and some system of bartering. Otherwise, there's nothing that would work because people will have nothing to trade with each other.
Or try and take the interest off of the monetary system and then it would have some kind of value. But whilst it's got that huge interest tied to it, it's...
What you mean, debt interest? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, basically it's fractional reserve banking, so they have 10% in the reserves and then whatever they have there, they can loan up to 90%.
From what you're saying, yeah, I wouldn't know the figures. It's not. So you're talking about large corporate ideas here. It's got nothing to do with the basic offence that you've allegedly committed.
Well, it has, because it's the whole reason why I don't use this monetary system.
Well, it's lovely to have this protective idea of you that because of these large things happening beyond your control, everything is beyond your control. This is within your control. If you use a service, you know you've got to pay for it in the United Kingdom. There's no...
Great, and I'd love to pay for it with something of value, not with debt.
It must be monetary value, which is money, basically.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to.
So, if I give you 2 apples,
yes,
then like I want them back from you.
Yeah.
And then like you pay me back by me giving you another apple.
No. Right, you've got 2 apples, I've got 2 bananas. You want the bananas. Now, it depends on you how you're going to trade it. You may trade 1 apple for 1 banana. That's a fair deal. Yeah. Or 2 apples for 2 bananas. But if you've got nothing to trade, and in this instance you've got nothing to trade because... because... yeah, but it's of no value or use to that employee who works for the company.
How do you know? Have you asked him?
No, but as a general rule, that ticket inspector is employed to go out there and find people that are travelling without tickets for the journeys and to report them for the offences that he finds, which is exactly what he did today, or tried to do. But you weren't complicit with the system because you failed to provide a name and address. Yeah. On that point, have you got an address you want to give us?
Well, I don't know what this address is that you talk about.
Well, somewhere where, in a normal scheme of things, someone lives.
Oh, I live everywhere.
You live everywhere?
Yeah, otherwise I'd be dead.
Are you saying the whole earth is your home?
You could see it that way.
Well, it's not what I see, it's what you see.
Well, it depends because, like, if it was the whole world, then I'd be allowed to freely travel wherever I like.
Well,
but this is quite self-evident. We're not living in a free country.
Or a free world.
Or a free world. And to try and leave this country because I don't agree with the rules, as I stated earlier to you, I'd have to follow the rules to leave.
What you would do, you'd have to have a passport to leave.
So, well, I could smuggle myself out, I suppose.
Well, you could do, you may get caught.
And then, like, throw me back.
Into the prison system.
It's crazy.
Or whatever system.
Crazy.
They decide. Well, it may well be, and it may well be. Unfortunately, if you don't participate with the majority, you'll be viewed as a minority, and therefore you'll be treated as a minority.
Do you think the majority actually want to go along with this and are happy with that?
Yes, because if they didn't do that, they wouldn't be able to afford houses, cars, holidays, and all the rest of it. I
don't know what your wages are, but like. The majority of people out there can't afford to live anymore. There's so many taxes on things, pension tax.
Well, there's all those things, but at some point, this is where in a democracy, a government are voted in, or not voted in. Well, it's more of a democracy than some other countries. Yeah, let's put it that way. It's a bit looser in this country than it is in other countries, but at the end of the day, even the loosest country in the world must have some system of controlling its citizens, and also a monetary system whereby the bartering works because before money was ever invented, the bartering system did work. People traded animals, horses, whatever, for whatever else they wanted, food, yeah? But it's moved on from that because we're living in a developed country here, and therefore every service that you use, the only bartering for most things is you pay the money or the money's worth for the goods, yeah? And that's the issue. For whatever service you use, is generally the issue, yeah? Now, if you don't want to participate in that, that's the thing for you, but you have participated in it today because you said by your own words, you got on that train at South Tottenham and you got out at Kensal Rise. Therefore, you've been provided with a service which is £4.70, yeah? Which you haven't paid, yeah? And you're not in a position to pay by the sounds of it, and you haven't got the ability to pay it.
Well, I'd love to pay it.
And that is
anything of value to use to pay with, because...
yeah, but you shouldn't use a system if you haven't got...
Oh, I am willing to pay it. Like, if the guy wanted me to work for him or whatever...
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. You don't seem to get it, yeah? What most people do is you work for money and you get paid and you go and pay your bills and whatever services you want to use. If you don't work, you may get something from the state, which also allows people to buy goods and services, yeah? But what you're doing is using goods and services without paying anything. You can't do it, is the bottom line. You shouldn't use those services if you're not in a position to pay for them at the relevant moment, yeah? The relevant moment is you buy the ticket before you get on the train, is the point.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that, because then that would be like saying to somebody, look, you know that's corrupt, but...
No, well, where does the corruption come in?
The money.
It is. So you're saying money is corrupt?
Yeah.
All money is a bartering system, so people have got some form of value, so they know what £100 will buy, or £200, or £1,000, or £1 million. They know what it will buy, yes? But the only other way of doing it was a system before money came into this country and most of the developed world. Money is a simpler way of bartering with people, or buying for goods, or exchanging for goods.
When you were saying there was a system that we need in place to control the citizens,
yes,
then like that is the money system that's in place to control the citizens.
Yeah.
Every morning, most people wake up with a need for money.
Well, they do, yes.
And a need is an addiction.
Well, possibly. It depends on how you control it. Addiction is something you can't live with.
Right,
Yeah.
so do you think you could live without money for a month?
Well, no, because it's not possible.
Well,
but
it is.
But then you can't breathe without fresh air. You can't live without fresh air.
Fresh air is nature.
But it's not an addiction, is it?
Yeah.
Fresh air is not an addiction.
Of course it is.
An addiction,
You need it.
An addiction is basically something you're taking or using which takes you over, which could be illegal drugs.
No.
As a simple analogy, therefore you become addicted to it because you can't live without it.
Without using an analogy, what is an addiction?
Well, something you can't live without.
Air, food.
Well, they're basic human needs and whatever. The problem with addictions, I'm talking about drug addiction or whatever, alcoholism addiction, whatever it may be, that need has become too powerful, yeah? And everything's got to be serving that, yeah? Everything in your life serves that, yeah? Because you've become addicted to it, yeah? So that explains addiction. Coming back to this, we talk about the 3 fails on a railway: fail to provide a name and address to a railway employee, fail to have a ticket for the journey, and fail to have the money for the journey to pay for the ticket. Now, you failed on all 3 of those, unless you can explain to me how you haven't failed in those. Can you explain to me?
Well, I did say, am I obliged to give that? And I also said, is there any proof that I should have such a thing as a name? And the reason for this is because the name that you require is the name on a birth certificate,
right,
which is a bonded instrument, which is tied to the Treasury,
right,
and it backs the value of money. It's proof that you are a corporate entity backing the value of the money. Since 1933, when they dropped the gold standard in America, they took the sterling out, so they took all the gold and silver out of the system,
right,
and then they made people collateral to back the money. So it's like they've turned us into products, and you must use the system, you must use money, and you must pay tax. The only people that don't pay tax are free men of the city or Freemasons that are going through livery companies and the guilds. And then they don't have to. But everybody else is a slave, and they don't have the right to have money, so they have to pay to use it by tax. And I think that is enslavement, that's all.
Well, that's fine. That's your ideology and your take on things. All I'm interested in today is, did you have the means to pay for your £4.70 train fare? Yes or no when you boarded that train?
If people are acting in commerce, I would always love to pay and use something of value.
And did you fail to provide to the railway employee and myself as a police officer your name and address?
I don't believe that I should have to give my name or address to anyone if I had such a thing, because, as I just stated about the birth certificate, why would I admit to being part of something that
you don't agree with, basically? Well, you said it's corrupt. I don't think it's necessarily corrupt. You've got to have some system in a country with 56, 65 million people. You've got to have some system of control. Otherwise, it's the law of the jungle, which doesn't work.
That's what they keep telling every part of programming. But I think people in communities without rules live quite well.
Well, they may well do on a small basis, but on a large basis, like the population of this country and other developed worlds, you're down to population levels. And can people live alongside each other? You've got problems with sewage, sanitation, water cleanliness, and the whole thing. And this all comes from developed society. But to get all those things together, they've got to be paid for, yeah? And that's why the basic principle in life is you go to school, you get an education, you then apply for a job, you get a job, and you start paying for things that you're using to pay for the next generation, whatever it may be. Pensions and all that carry on. Yeah, so that's the basic system. If you drop out from that system, that's your personal choice. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're still subject to the system which says if you use a service in this country, you've got to pay for it. So on today, I come back to: did you have £4.70 to pay for the train ticket when you boarded the train? Did you provide your name and address to the railway person? It's been evidence that you didn't. Did you have the means to pay, or did you have a ticket for travel? And they're all no to those questions.
In your opinion?
It's not opinion, it's fact.
Well, no,
because when you've been searched, you had 40 pence in your property. Well, the fare is £4.70, so you're £4.30 short. Yeah, well, you're even short of the £1.50 fare. You're £1.10 short of the £1.10 or the valid Oyster card. But you didn't have either of those.
Well, that bag, it's not mine. I'm just using it, and that's why there was a Nintendo DS Sonic game in there, as well as the 40 pence.
Well, does the person that you're using it from, do they know you've got it?
What, the bag?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Do they? Well, I don't know. But anyway, we're not going to go down that line. So it's basically...
So it's not my, that's not my money, I don't...
No, all right. Well, it's down to this basic stuff. Did you have the ability to pay when you boarded that train? Did you have the intention to pay or not pay when you boarded the train? And when you asked for your name and address, you failed to provide your name and address to the ticket inspector who reasonably asked for it, and you've basically not given him your name and address suitable for service or summons. Therefore, that's why I've become involved, and I've told you you'll end up down at a police station and you're more than likely to go to court tomorrow, because unless you provide name and address, you're likely to go to court. It may not be. He may decide that he's going to charge you tonight with this offence and send you to court tomorrow, or keep you in and send you to court tomorrow, or charge you tonight and bail you to a future date. That's the custody officer's decision. Yeah. But the basic principle here is you committed an offence on the railway, and you're giving me all sorts of interesting arguments as to why you didn't have the money to pay at the time. It's all very interesting to have these ideas, but at the end of the day, you've used a service and you haven't paid for it, and you didn't have the ability to pay for it. And when you've been asked for your details, you failed to give those. So you failed on 3 counts: failed to give your name and address, failed to have a ticket for the journey, and failed to have the money or the means to pay for the journey. So all those means you've committed the offence. And that's all I can say about it. Do you want to say anything else? Because I'll wrap this up very quickly.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to say I wasn't any hassle or trouble. I have been totally honest with what I've said.
That's fine, you have. You've been no trouble to me, but just right conclusion. Do you wish to clarify anything that you've just said? Do you wish to clarify anything?
I don't know what all this means.
No, okay. Do you wish to add anything new to what you've said?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, I'll give a notice. I told you about starting the interview and explained what to do with the interview takes. The time now is 8:23 p.m.
You didn't give me that, the thing.
I'll give you just.
And start the interview.
The interview is now concluded. Right. I'll give you the floor in a minute, just a minute. Right, let's stop this.